When they had finished eating, Jesus asked Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" And Simon replied, "Yes, Lord, you know I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." Jesus asked the second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Simon replied, "Yes, Lord, you know I love you." Jesus said to him, "Take care of my sheep." He asked a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Peter was sad that Jesus had asked him a third time, "Do you love me?" He replied, "Lord, you know everything. You know I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. I assure you that when you were younger, you tied your own belt and walked around wherever you wanted. When you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will tie your belt and lead you where you don't want to go." He said this to show the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. And after saying this, Jesus said to Peter, "Follow me." If I was Peter, I think I would have one central question in this passage. When? When is this going to happen to me? When am I going to be old? When am I going to not be able to dress myself and be led by somebody else? When am I going to die? I think death is one of those things that's really sobering. It's universal. Hasn't been anybody who hasn't died. Even Jesus dies, and then he comes back to life. He's the exception, not the rule. So for you and I, that question, when, often comes around when we are watching movies and people are doing predictive things, or when we read Old Testament prophecies and people ask the question, when is this going to happen? When are these things going to happen? In fact, Jesus' disciples ask Jesus when he predicts the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. They ask, when will these things happen? And Jesus kind of gives some signs of when these things are going to take place, and there's going to be famine and wars and all these things. And for us, we might be thinking, man, when is COVID-19 going to end? When are we going to re-enter? When is the economy going to pick back up? When am I going to get my job back? When am I going to get toilet paper? Silly things and serious things. We wonder when. My favorite teachings of Jesus are the parables, these short stories where Jesus explains some things in just a sentence, power-packed with so much meaning. They relate to everyday life, and they transcend even just one interpretation. They have many, many angles to look at and many ways of learning from them. My favorite parable, that's a little bit longer though, you might be familiar with the parable of the prodigal son or the Good Samaritan. My favorite lengthy parable is the one of the persistent widow or the unjust judge. In a certain town, there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared what people thought. A widow came to him and said, "Give me justice against my adversary." Some translations might even say, "Give me vengeance against my adversary." And the judge dismissed her, but she kept coming back over and over again. Eventually, the judge said, "I will give this woman what she asks for, not because I care what people think or because I respect God, but because if I don't, she will come and," some translations say, "attack me," or she'll wear me out with her comings. And so Jesus then finishes and says, "Listen to what the unjust judge says, and will not God bring about justice for those who cry out to him day and night?" And then Jesus follows up this parable by saying, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? And I think it's really interesting how Luke packages this parable. And it's interesting to wonder how often did Jesus tell these parables? It's likely that because they were found in the Gospels, that he told them on many occasions. And so Luke, who wasn't a direct follower of Jesus, he was a companion of Paul and others, he interviewed people and he learned these stories through the people who were friends with Jesus and who had heard these parables on different occasions. So Luke takes these and says, on this occasion, Jesus is talking about prayer. The disciples should always pray and not give up. And then Jesus asks a when question. When the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? This is an end of times, like you're going to die kind of question. When the world ends, will Jesus find people praying? Will Jesus find people being faithful, trusting, crying out to God? So I think the question when is often one that we want an answer to, like this specific date, 2012, the end of the year, end of the world, I mean. We want those kind of like predictive when am I going to die? When am I going to get this raise? When am I going to get out of COVID-19 quarantine? And for Jesus, the when is not a time or a specific date. Even Jesus says the Son of Man doesn't know, only the Father knows the hour. So the when question is not a date, it's a habit, it's a practice. May we be people when COVID-19 lifts, that we're doing good things for each other, for our families. When Jesus comes back, may we be people that are praying and being followers of Jesus. So I think the when question is really, really on our minds right now. So I hope that you take a little bit of some of these thoughts and try and structure your when, your behaviors, your practices right now, so that when we lift from this quarantine, you can look back and say, yeah, I was praying, I was loving, I was giving, I was generous, I was full of joy. These were the things that I was doing when quarantine lifted.